We all want to know who built these massive cathedrals, right? We all want to know who had the knowledge before we were all born. We want to know why we're being told that they were built with hammers and chisels. Today, I think we take a step closer to finding out where this incredible knowledge of construction truly came from. Where we are all aware of the massive continent that was completely left out of our mainstream textbooks, the land of Mu. So let's go even deeper. When we go back to this article from the Courier Journal from 1925, nearly 100 years ago, where it reads, according to the records from Colonel Churchward and the East Indian High Priest, the records state that some people were brought by flying machines to India from the land of Mu in the Pacific Ocean. The records say that Mu was the motherland of man. In Mu was the Garden of Eden, where they had cities, where they learned to build palaces of marble. They acquired the skill to quarry gigantic blocks of stone and to transport them long distances and to carve them into human faces. Like we saw in episode 60 in Easter Island, where the records say that the people of Mu navigated the air and had ships where they sailed to far distant lands with rich cargo. And now that we know all of this, I want to show a few things. First of all, this is showing that the technology of flight has been here before, where the Wright brothers story, creating the first plane in the 1800s, would be a massive lie, where they have this information stored and giving it back to us slowly, as we have discussed. Secondly, they mention in the tablets that the land of Mu was in the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean has been named the Pacific Ocean for 13,000 years? Or was the land of Mu here much closer to our timeline? Or is there more land? Not the entire continent, obviously, but are there other lands, possibly bigger than Easter Island and possibly bigger than Hawaii, left over from that cataclysmic event that are still here today and simply hidden from our maps and our flight paths, where our current day planes could simply just be flying around that area? Where these hidden islands could be. Hidden knowledge, where our flight paths are just circling it. The Garden of Eden, the place where humans had cities, where they learned to build palaces of marble, and learning all of the construction skills that we are all asking questions about worldwide today. We are all wondering who built these cathedrals. We all know at this point that the horse and wagon community did not hire Donkeys Incorporated in the 17 and 1800s to chisel away at some stone and marble and knock out the Cologne Cathedral. We know this. We know that they didn't hit the stone with a hammer, a little harder and with a little more precision than we do today. And their work just lasts forever, and ours doesn't. It's not about effort. There's knowledge involved here. The Gloucester Cathedral, located in England, we are told was constructed by the people of the 1100s, 900 years ago. And of course, the narrative holds a major fire. In the year of 1088, because the narrative knows all about the year 1088, and this is fully documented, of course. No. The interior ceiling of the Gloucester Cathedral is incredible. And I am at the point where I believe that this knowledge to construct this way, architecture that doesn't fit into our mainstream history at all, of primitive people in huts, no power tools, and zero background on their training processes all over the world. This incredible architecture and construction in every single continent may have come from this continent of Mu, where they seem to have had communication with a higher power, where we are told that this is the Garden of Eden, and it shows through the construction. We have the physical evidence that they were able to construct the massive stone heads at Easter Island. And then we have this, Nan Madol, located on an island called Micronesia, a location that is connected to the land of Mu, connected to Hawaii, and connected to Easter Island, also located in the Pacific Ocean, a once great city of man-made stone islands. The construction of the artificial islets probably started 1,300 years ago. Probably. Maybe. When in reality, in my opinion, it wasn't 1,300 years ago and was much closer to our current timeline, where they go on to say that this was built at the exact same time as the Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris, where they just eyeballed it, gave it a solid, educated guess. The experts really nailed these dates, where the 12th to the 13th century seems like the winner. So it's very clear that these dates are attempts to fit this place right into their timeline of thousands of years. And what is with these maps? A quick break to talk about something I've just started using, Rumble Wallet. If you've ever been curious about buying and investing in crypto, Bitcoin, stable coins, USAT, or even gold-backed stable coins, but felt like it was way too complicated, Rumble Wallet is an easy way to get started. You can buy, sell, and manage your cryptocurrencies all in one place. And the app is totally straightforward. What really makes Rumble Wallet unique is that you can use it to tip your favorite creators and support the Freedom First community, the truth community that we've all built right here on Rumble. Getting started is simple. All you do is download the Rumble Wallet app. Sign up with your existing Rumble account. No need for a new login. Complete a few security steps and you're set up in minutes. You can start with just a few dollars. And with MoonPay, built into Rumble Wallet, you can easily buy crypto using your credit card, debit card, or bank wire. So if you've been thinking about the advantages of crypto, download Rumble Wallet right now. Click on my link in the description or search Rumble Wallet in the App Store. Download Rumble Wallet today and move your assets to where they belong. In your hands, in your control. Rumble Wallet is a technology provider only and not a custodial service. See terms at wallet.rumble.com. Download Rumble Wallet today and hit the link in my description. Throwing a layer of static right over the top of this location with a perfect 90-degree angle. It's interesting to say the least. Nan Madol has confused the mainstream narrative, and they simply don't understand how to fit this place in, where this location holds construction of megalithic architecture, where the so-called experts cannot explain it, where they say little can be verified about the megalithic construction, where we already know at this point that this land was connected to the continent of Mu, where they were given the knowledge to build palaces of marble. They learned to quarry gigantic blocks of stone and learned how to transport them long distances, and also learned how to carve stone, where we are told that they built huge stone buildings. And then they show us these depictions of it in the mainstream history, like it was actually constructed in the water, like this. When we know that it was built on land, built on the continent of Mu, it wasn't originally in the water like this. In legend, we are told that the builders lifted the huge stones with the aid of a flying dragon. So we definitely have something very interesting going on here in the Pacific Ocean, where Colonel Churchward claimed that the civilization of Mu was technologically more advanced than we are today. And is this not exactly what we're saying today? A civilization that was here before us, that we are not being told about in our mainstream history classes, that was much more advanced, with so much more technology than we have today, where we are being given all of this technology back slowly after 1776, where Columbus didn't discover anything and was a fictional character in my opinion, when the previous civilization before us didn't know of less land than we do today. Instead, they knew about more land than we do today. It's a complete opposite, where Churchward goes on to say that this advanced civilization, this group in Mu, was known as the Nacals. The dates and the years are all over the place, and it's the one thing that's impossible to translate. This is in my opinion, but this is because the year 2024 is not really the true year. I think the calendar that we use today is fabricated to completely confuse us, and the further you get away from the creation date, the further you get away from the creator. I'm not entirely sure which year we are really in, and this is why it's impossible for James Churchward to know how long ago the continent of Mu was really here. I don't believe it was thousands of years ago, like I've said before. He also goes on to say the ancient civilizations of India, which would explain why these tablets would be in an Indian temple. Babylon, Persia, Egypt, and the Mayans were built by the people of Mu. And if there was one place in the world that would be hidden from our maps today, one specific location that holds all of this technology, flying crafts, marble structures, everything, who's to say that the group of people that found this location, or the remains that were at this location and are in control today, who's to say that this group wouldn't hide this location that is the stem of all information from all of us? Is it just a coincidence that the Pacific Ocean is basically empty on our map that we are shown? And don't forget, that being in control of the map is a key part of the game. What if we are playing the game with a false map? Is it possible that a part of this incredible land of Mu is still here? Is it possible that the Garden of Eden is hidden to us? Is this why we have no idea where we are, or what we're doing here, or why we're finding massive structures that make no sense in our timeline? Hiding massive continents, hiding technology, giving us a false history, giving us a false map. Is this why we are distracted with Egypt, where they tell us to look to Egypt and the pyramids, while the real location is over in the Pacific Ocean, where Church Ward claimed that the ancient Egyptian sun god Ra originated with the Mu, where Ra was the word which the Nacals used for sun, as well as for their god and rulers. Now, again, this is all information that we can hold on to for the future while we go further into this research. Finding a continent that's conveniently no longer on our map, where they were able to construct massive structures, had incredible technology, and would explain the pyramids in Egypt, is something that I cannot keep to myself. Church Ward had two major critics, and neither of them actually ever read the tablets that Church Ward did at the Indian Temple, where we have Curtis Wilgus, a historian who taught at George Washington University, where he organized and directed the Center for Latin American Affairs, and also organized the school's annual Caribbean conferences. So this guy was locked in and knew all about these tablets, where the Caribbean conference organizer guy tells everybody that Church Ward's research was the strangest of fiction. It was pure imagination, based on everything that he learned over at the annual Caribbean conferences. And that's exactly how Curtis aced his college exams, by asking 0 questions and receiving 3 mainstream college history degrees, 3 of them. So we have a very open-minded individual in Curtis. Now, who is this other critic? Engineer and writer L. Sprague de Camp, where he simply dismissed the idea of the Nacal in an article in 1946. Just dismissed it. De Camp spent 10 years attending Snyder School in North Carolina, in a military-style institution where his parents were heavy-handed disciplinarians to cure him of intellectual arrogance. All right, so we have 2 critics that spent their entire life being told what to think, and they were very good at it. And those were Church Ward's critics, people that were never there, people that never spent the time in India at the temple, and had 0 proof that Church Ward was incorrect. By simply just saying that Church Ward's work is insane or mythical does not prove anything. It proves that their minds are so manipulated to the point that they can't ask any questions and can't let go of the lies that they've been told. By admitting that Church Ward's work is a possibility, it would mean that these 2 individuals would have to agree that all of their time spent learning one way of thinking and feeling like they knew more than everybody else about human history, everything that they thought was the truth, may have been a waste of time. And for some people, this is extremely difficult, and I can't fully blame them. But at the same time, they need to start asking some questions, and not towards us. We owe them nothing. We have taken a total of $0 from them. We are simply asking questions about our past. These questions should be directed towards the people, the institutions that have taken thousands of dollars from them. We are simply trying to find the truth at all costs. If a massive continent of Mu is truly out there, or even parts of it, hidden within the information that is provided, a place with marble structures and hidden technology, a hidden past, and possibly an explanation as to why these massive structures all over the world, in all of our cities, and possibly the location of the Garden of Eden. I want to know about it. Now that we know that there are basically 0 critics of James Church Ward's work, and we have records from 1925 that James Church Ward learned more than just hidden history. He also learned, in my opinion, hidden technology from the previous civilization, where James Church Ward owned over 100 patents. Now, I want to go even deeper. James was a soldier. He was stationed in India, where he became close friends with an elderly monk from a nearby temple, where these documents were in a secret archive in the temple. The priest or monk taught Church Ward the language called Nacal, by which the tablets were written. And we know that according to Church Ward's work, these were the people that lived in the continent of Mu. And the part that I find interesting is that the location of where James was stationed, the location of where this temple is located is wiped out from our database. The fact that we cannot look up where he was based, hiding his location as colonel, proves to me that they want this information gone and hidden. As if the British government doesn't know or has lost the records of where they stationed one of their soldiers. He was stationed in India for decades, and this location of this temple is now hidden from us. Finding a continent in the middle of the Pacific Ocean was not a part of the plan. I believe that James Churchward messed up the mainstream narrative when he spoke to that elder. Having an advanced civilization that was here before us does not at all fit into the narrative that we created the first plane, the first train, the first car, the first phone, TV, the light bulb, and the rest. All in the 1800s. It would make sense that all of our worldwide technological information would all stem from the Garden of Eden, or in other words, the beginning place. A branch off to Egypt, India, Mexico, Asia, and the rest of the world. Having an advanced civilization that was here before us does not fit into the narrative that today we have the best construction processes. And it honestly disproves the evolution theory. It shows that we are not evolving and advancing. We are simply growing as we are allowed to grow. We are as advanced as we are allowed to be. And this is what James Churchward proved. And this is when this article clears up a lot for us. When James did not go to India with the intentions of learning any of this information. He was stationed in India and was in charge of the old priest. James was in charge of the priest. This was his role. This priest was one of the three most highly learned priests of India. Secretly stored in the archives of the temple were hundreds of clay tablets. The old rishi, or priest, became highly attached to James Churchward and taught him the key to the ancient alphabet. So this priest or rishi taught James this information and then showed him secret tablets. And then we actually have these massive heads at Easter Island. We actually have the structures at Nan Madol. We have physical proof that backs James Churchward's narrative up. You can physically go there and see it for yourself. So the location of this temple in India, where James was based for years, is wiped out from our knowledge. But we all know that if there is a temple out there in India with hundreds of hidden tablets that hold incredible knowledge, then there most likely is more than one. Who else has hidden knowledge that holds our true history, just waiting for us all to find it? We have located a map that is no longer here, but we have found a photo of it, and I'm going to show it to the world today. We are given a mainstream narrative, force-fed a narrative from day one, and on average, given more money for the rest of our lives if you continue through this indoctrination program, this system, longer than everybody else, and call it college. We are told these narratives for decades, molding our minds to believe that cathedrals, such as the Hereford Cathedral, was completed in the year 1250, 774 years ago, where we have shown that the mainstream narrative tells us that basically nobody was even here, telling us that the population of nobody was so much more advanced than billions of people that we have today, while at the same time telling us that we are evolving and advancing. A population of basically nobody, knocking out palaces with zero training programs, no lights, no power tools, nothing. And then these palaces are here before us today, looking better than ever, looking better than anything we construct today. Go inside one of them, and you will feel its presence, that they are much more than we are told. We are given a narrative that holds keys that we have found right here on this channel. We have exposed these patterns to the whole world. We have shown that these narratives all over the world are created by the same source. These keys are given to us. And in my opinion, they have always been here, where they were just waiting to see who could find them. I think this is a game, and lucky for us, it's a game that we are very good at. When we dig deeper into this Hereford Cathedral, and we find that its origins held an even earlier church, where the new church had a very short life, of course, for it was plundered and burned down in 1056. It was not, however, destroyed until its custodians had offered vigorous resistance. So we get the fire nod, and now we know that it's time to go deeper and show that this cathedral was built by an extremely advanced civilization, one that we are not being told about, one that constructed these incredible structures all over the world, a population that was much bigger than what we have today, a population that didn't ride around on donkeys. They fully understood how to construct a palace that lasts forever. After hitting the chisel with a hammer all day long, they did not go over to their horse parking spot, where the horse was just standing all day long. They did not ride their horse home and sleep in a wooden shed. This extremely advanced group of people, this group is being hidden from us. And the proof is all over the world. And the coolest part about this research, in my opinion, is that you can go inside these palaces today. And they're in almost every single city in the world. Hereford Castle, check the inside out. Look at those wooden plank benches compared to the incredible construction of the palace itself. Look at the ceilings. The craziest part about this is that there was never a bad construction company in the 1250s, according to the mainstream narrative. Not a single flaw in any country. This fact alone should have alarms going off in everybody's head, if they haven't been going off already. And if they're not going off, I'm gonna fix that right now. A place of worship has existed on the exact same site of this present building since the 700s or earlier. Another narrative where there are multiple buildings on the same site. And we have all the documents backing this statement up. No. This cathedral has the largest library of chained books in the world, where this gets very interesting. This palace is home to the Mappa Mundi, which is its most famous treasure. A map from the old world, in my opinion. We are told this is from over 700 years ago. A map of the old world with Jerusalem at its center. Are we ready to go even deeper? A larger Mappa Mundi, the Ebstorf map, was destroyed by Allied bombings in 1943, though photographs of it survived. Now, we can all see how these operations worked. We understand at this point what wars were most likely used for. We are beginning to understand the entire operation at this point. And through hours and hours of clues, repetition from the narrative, a massive amount of clear lies, through 70 episodes, there are less and less sitting at the other side of the table. There are thousands of us right now for a reason. Now, let's take a look at this map. Let's pretend that this is a true depiction of where we live. Bombing the other one in 1946, obviously deliberately destroying it. We can see Jerusalem is right here in the center, with Jesus on the cross. You have mermaids down here, and a clear depiction of a griffin, which we know is linked to Tartaria. All of this showing me that there is so much more to our true history than what we are being told in these classrooms. This place that we live is not at all what we are told. On the right-hand side, you have people with faces on their chest. And right above Jesus, you have the Tower of Babel. Now, normally when something is written down, I have a very hard time believing it to be real. But the fact that they bombed the other one definitely shows me that there's something about this map that is very important to us. Let's take a look at the one that they bombed. This is where they tell us that in 1843, they found this map in a convent in northern Germany. It was 12 feet by 12 feet. Again, all centered around Jerusalem. And remember that they tell us a very interesting detail, that they found this map in 1843, where exactly 100 years later, on the dot, in 1943, they bombed it and destroyed it during the Allied bombings. All of this happening during our current civilization, wiping out possibly the true history, possibly the true map. If this place that we live is really centered around Jerusalem, and in 1946 the narrative changed, bombing this map and possibly other things inside that building that would have given a lot of stuff away to us, which was of course also in northern Germany, where you can begin to put the pieces together. But you can see what this bombing was, in my opinion, all about. 1946, Germany. The map is gone. This man a German aerospace engineer and space architect, member of the party that I'm not going to say, so we can keep going. He was the leading figure in development of rocket technology in, you guessed it, where he also worked with a guy named Walt, and you can see his last name right here, which popularized the idea of space travel. We all need to understand at this point that there was zero space talk before this. This space talk is all brand new and all a part of this current timeline that we are all in and a part of this narrative that we are force-fed. So again, 1943 bombed the map where Jerusalem is in the center. 1944, the V2 became the first artificial object to travel into space just 1 year after removing this old world map. The following year, in 1945, this man was secretly moved to the United States, all a part of an operation that I'll put an arrow to right here. And just 12 years later, all a part of this timeline that we're in, this was created, an operation to remove our history, to remove a map and give us this new one. We have found evidence, in my opinion, that it is very clear that within this game that we are all a part of, we are not given the true map to this game, which we have shown a few times now. Is it possible that Jerusalem is the true center of our map and has changed hands not as long ago as we are all told? The map is based on earlier maps, including the Psalter world map, which we are told yet again that Jerusalem is the center of the map. This one being held in the British Library, which was drawn around 1260, but we have no idea who drew it. Where we know all about the year 1079. We know all about the year 794, where some character was beheaded, where Offa had supposedly consented to give his daughter to Ethelbert in marriage. Why he changed his mind and deprived him of his head, historians do not know. Now, I show this because it's entertaining to me that the narrative gives us these detailed stories from the year 794, but then leave out the most important details of a groundbreaking map, or can't tell us who built the buildings in 1900, like we've shown in episode 33, when we just emailed them and they couldn't tell us. Going back to this map that was bombed in 1946, I'm going to zoom in on it and show you all that there were no huts. There were no plastic siding houses. Every single depiction is of a palace. Palace after palace after palace across the entire map. And there are a few that remain today. And these are the buildings that we are discussing on this channel. The ones that remain. But we can clearly see that there were so many more that have been removed from our view. I'll scroll around a little so you can all get a good look at this map that is gone now. And then I'm going to show you what I believe is a depiction of the exit to our current map, the one that is being hidden from us. Down here at the bottom left, there is a massive opening where I think that this is definitely part of the reason for trapping our minds and telling us that we are trapped on a ball flying through space, where, remember, this is a brand new idea and we all know whose idea it was. We have shown that in this episode. And now there is nowhere to go, where if these maps that have been destroyed are true, then there would be openings, possibly leading to more land, which coincides with this treaty that was introduced in 1959, the exact years that we are talking about here. Destroying this map, 1945, an operation to bring over Walt's friend to the USA. In 1958, we get this group, and 1 year later, in 1959, we get this treaty. Now, this treaty is the only thing in the world that all of these countries can agree on, which should show you that there is something very interesting about it. So just remember that while there are things going on in the world, countries that we are told that they don't like each other, they still agree on something. And this is something that hides a massive truth from all of us.
Tonight is not only our greatest living explorer, but he's been an inspiration inspiration to countless Americans. Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this Earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans? Yes, there is.
This treaty covers the area south of the 60th degree south latitude, which means that you just can't get on a boat and set sail and go to Antarctica and see these openings on this map where they tell us that all Antarctica-bound expeditions must be authorized by the operator's own country or the vessel's flag state, where heavy fines can result from non-authorized visits to Antarctica. Would you like to see the openings in our map? A massive operation shut this down in the mid-1900s. And now, we have further evidence of this. Again, I do believe that all of this information is here for us to find it. I think this is all available to us. As long as this is something that we want to know. It's all very clear. The more truth that you know, it all makes more and more sense. And it all lines up. Exactly how the truth always does. While a lie is all over the place. I've said this before, but I do think it's possible that they are waiting to see who can find this information. They've left it out there for those that look. The word medieval, in my eyes, is another word for the old world. They explain the narrative away by simply calling it medieval. So let's remember this going forward. Right on their website, the Hereford Cathedral tells us that the medieval cathedral was not monastic. They even tell us that the map that they hold inside this place, the map that we discussed today, is one of the world's unique medieval treasures. Our timeline starts around 1700 and then spikes in the 1800s with massive operations going on in the 1800s. All in my opinion, of course, based on everything that we have seen. But this is why I always check the 1800s for major destruction projects of these incredible palaces. Oh, wait, did I say destruction? I meant restoration. When you go to the mid-1800s yet again, we have the exact same narrative here. 1841 to 1863, major restoration of the cathedral. A cathedral that did not need our help. In fact, we weren't even given the power tool until 1895. So what major renovations could our horse and wagon friends have truly done to this palace? Do you think it's possible that they removed things that did not fit into our mainstream timeline? Before we go into the bonus, I'm going to show you this, how I don't believe that the Mappa Mundi has always been here at this location. I believe that it was put here when we are told the only complete world map of its kind to have survived, a fascinating pictorial encyclopedia of the medieval world, where it may have been, it might have been, maybe, but the mainstream narrative is of course iffy on that. It might have been made for the Hereford Cathedral and has been here for most of its life. Most of its life. Not all of its life? Where was it before? Who really made this map? Why was the other one bombed? This is extremely interesting stuff, especially when this is all on their website. And in my opinion, an admission that this was not theirs. This was not there in that palace for its whole life. They even call it medieval, and they have now taken possession of it. Oh, in 1786, the west tower of the cathedral just collapses overnight on Easter Monday. Just random, of course. Do we think that that was random? You tell me. Clearly a palace from the old world. And just for fun, let's show the repeating names. Robert of Lorraine, Robert de Botton, 4 more Roberts buried here. And then we have 2 Thomases with 3 more Thomases buried there. And we can't leave out a couple Hughes thrown in back to back. Located at 651 Main Street, Buffalo, New York. Opening in 1877. We have the Dr. Ray V. Pierce Palace Hotel, where this gets wild. We've talked about energy here on this channel. How these buildings hold energy, but this gets deep. The place was half hotel, half hospital, where the baths and gymnasiums on the campus were known nationwide for their healing and restorative powers. A healing hotel. Where is this why a lot of the old world buildings have been destroyed? Because they held healing powers for all of us. Where 2 presidents were frequent visitors. Pierce's Palace Hotel was open only 4 years before it burned down in 1881. And are we right or what? Is this not a nod? I'm not joking. Every time I see this narrative, I am more and more surprised. For one, that we never noticed this before. And for two, that they really put this in the narrative over and over and over, all over the world. And we know here that that building was much older than just 4 years. And you can see what I'm talking about with all of these fires when we just flip over to the St. Peter's Cathedral Basilica in London, Ontario, and see that they just throw this into the narrative as a nod to their group for future generations, in my opinion, to recognize which buildings are from the previous civilization, where it says that there were multiple churches on this location. The first one was destroyed in the London Fire, 1845, and a larger frame church was built. But this church also burned down in 1850, 5 years later. And we have a whole series about this nod called The Fire Games. It's all in a playlist, which includes episode 68 and episode 69. So now let's get back to this Pierce's Hotel. After that fire that we just showed, in 1881, Pierce opened his hotel and surgical institute on the 600 block of Main Street, which survived until 1941, where things begin to get interesting. The beginning of the end for the Pierce's Hotel and Surgical Institute likely came to an end in 1939 when the Federal Trade Commission included this cease and desist order in a stipulation. They were basically no longer allowed to call themselves doctors or medical men. They were no longer able to give medical advice. Not being able to call themselves doctors or call their advice medical advice must have been a lethal blow a little over a year later, where in my opinion, this was the end of this old world medicine, old world healing powers coming to an end when on August 1st, 1941, the Hotel and Surgical Institute discontinued operations, and Pierce, the one that had this knowledge of old world healings, passes away. And 2 years after that, 1944, Kane announced that they would be destroying all of the Pierce's estate's glass work. I was looking at this photo of the Greater Cemetery of Milan, the largest cemetery in Milan, Italy, and thought it was interesting that the 1800s group only seemed to know how to construct columns and incredibly detailed architecture. And as I kept zooming in, it hit me that this thing is bigger and goes underground, with the stairs right here in the center, which brings us to today's main topic, the catacombs all over the world. Yet another topic that we are not fully told about in our mainstream classes. A catacomb is classified as an underground cemetery, subterranean passageways, chambers, used as burial places. But these are no normal burial. They stack the bones in a decorated manner, as if it's an art of some kind, as if these acts were done deliberately, and these were their trophies. Do you want to know where the previous civilization might have gone? I can't make any claims, but there are clues in the catacombs, where the largest catacomb system in the world is located in Odessa, Ukraine, a man-made tunnel system with over 1,500 miles of catacombs carved into the limestone beneath the city, dating back to the exact time period that we're talking about here, right before the 17 and 1800s, where the catacombs are on 3 levels and reach a depth of 60 meters below sea level. So when you think that everything on the surface is all that there is, think again. And these are the catacombs that we're told about. So who's to say there aren't more, covered by the mud and dirt? In Odessa, it's challenging to prove even a rough estimate of the number of bodies in the catacombs, as there is limited documentation and many areas remain unexplored or inaccessible. So they don't even know how many were put down into these 3-level tunnel systems that extend for 1,500 miles. Now, Ukraine is not the only catacomb in the world. We know this. The most popular one coming in Paris, France, where we are told that this catacomb alone holds the remains of more than 6 million people. and goes on to say that they extend south from the gate of hell. To get a sense of what this is all about, this is not a pleasant sight. And we get the excuse, in my opinion, that these were created as part of an effort to eliminate the effects of the city's overwhelming cemeteries. And the narrative yet again hits the dates we are discussing when it tells us that this all took place in the 1700s. What were they doing moving 6 million people in the mid-1700s in just Paris alone? And the most insane part about this is they show it off as an attraction. Buy your tickets here and see what they've done, extending to the gate of hell, in their words. This is all information that has been sitting here for a very long time, and all information that we, for some reason, never really looked at collectively. But now is the time for all of us to get a clearer understanding of what really took place in the past. Catacombs all over the world on their website explaining that these go down 131 steps under Paris, France. Tunnels that cover nearly 2,000 acres right below the city that we all walk on, where we can explore about 1 mile of this place when it has 200 miles of bone-lined walls. And yet again, 2 for 2 today, though only a small part is explored and open to the public. So we are getting an understanding that this 6 million total people is probably much more. And again, we have all asked, where did this advanced civilization go? I am simply researching and sharing what I find, but we can all speculate that it's possible that they are all right below us. A major reason, in my opinion, that these cities hold a very powerful energy, one that draws a mass amount of people to them. Once something major happens in a location, I think we can forever sense it, whether it's good or bad. We all understand with a photo like this that all of these remains needed to be separated. This is not a normal way to bury somebody. This looks like an award of some kind, like a trophy. Like whoever did this accomplished something and are creating some kind of trophy for themselves. These are all intertwined with each other. And again, how many more of these are below our cities that we don't know about and aren't told about or being restricted from us? St. Stephen's Cathedral, located in Vienna, Austria, where we of course get the fire nod, and also houses the remains of around 11,000 people in its catacombs. So this cathedral that holds a fire narrative and 11,000 people buried underneath it is selling tickets. You can visit them on a tour. Just buy your tickets today. This is unbelievable. Here's a photo from the 1920s of the exit from the catacombs, where we can see that we are just scratching the surface. Some of these buildings clearly have a different purpose than what we are told. This guy is giving his rundown of the experience. And in the middle of it, he says that they renovated it 50 years ago to make it modern looking. Then we have the catacombs of Lima, where they tell us that in 1546, they began construction of the Basilica and Convent of San Francisco in Lima, located in Peru, not California. And this included the catacombs where there are another 25,000 bodies lying in it that we are told about. Again, buried in these weird artistic designs. The catacombs or crypts of Lima are considered the largest in the entire continent, and we are told that these enormous wells, 10 meters deep, filled with bones and skulls. The well's original purpose was to preserve the old buildings from earthquakes. And they also tell us, for a third time today, that there is most likely more to these catacombs that we are not able to see. When they say, it is believed that there is a network of paths and secret passages that connect different buildings. Now remember, before 1943, the public was unaware of these catacombs in Lima. So for me to suggest that there are many other catacombs all around the world is a pretty basic suggestion. And remember, the experts of the 1940s figured out exactly who these people were and gave us the full truth about the dates? No. Let's read that first paragraph. The neatly organized bones for geometric patterns in sizable open ossuary just below the floor of the church, monastery, and library. And before 1943, nobody knew that was there. Now, let's ask a question. How many churches around the world have the exact same thing going on underneath the floor that we aren't being told about? Is this the reason that when you walk into these places, you feel a massive presence? We went into New York City. I went inside the St. Patrick's Cathedral, and here's part of the video that I got. Now, I'm not saying there are catacombs under this church, but when I asked this guy at the front in the suit if there was a basement, he looked at me very strange and said, absolutely not, but did let me know something. He gave me information that I needed to hear, and that is that there is supposedly an even older St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City. And this guy let me know that this one did have catacombs under its floors. Now, if I'm going to speculate at this point, I would say that the one that I was in has catacombs as well, but that's just my opinion. But yet again, sold as an attraction where you get tickets to go and see these bones. And we all know how construction works. There are steps that you have to take in order to build a building. You build the foundation first. This means that the catacombs were constructed before these churches. And then the church is strategically placed on top. Why would a church build on top of these geometrically placed bones of, in my opinion, the previous civilization? And then they profit off of it, selling tickets all over the world, showing it off as an attraction to us. In my opinion, the new population. And who is buying these tickets? And then we have the Brno Ossuary, an underground ossuary that were rediscovered in 2001. So this has just been hanging out below the ground for all this time, and we just rediscovered it. I keep saying it, but now knowing this, can you even imagine what is really below our feet? And who did this? Who set all these bones up like this? And yet again, it is under the Church of St. James, where it holds an estimated 50,000 people, making it the second largest ossuary in Europe that we know about. And remember, all of these bones are laid in a pattern, like we've been told, and they are done like this all over the world, not just in Europe, meaning that the same group did this all over the world. And they tell us it's because the graves were too populated. Yet they go on to dismantle the bones and put them into geometric patterns, which makes no sense at all. Why would you randomly do that? It doesn't add up. You would preserve them properly and lay them the way they were found. This feels much deeper than simply transporting due to overpopulation of an area and then building a church right on top of them over and over. So who do they tell us is responsible for placing these bones into geometric patterns? Who did this? According to walksofitaly.com, it was just your everyday quarrymen. You know, those quarrymen just laid human skulls into perfect geometric shapes for fun back in the day. This was their side hobby, of course. No. Let's read this. Despite the ritual with which the bones were transferred, the bones had simply been dumped into the tunnels in large heaps. Slowly but surely, the quarrymen lined the walls with tibias and femurs, punctuated with skulls, which form the basis of most of the decorations that tourists see today. This is unbelievable. Now, do we really think that this was just the quarrymen that just randomly decided to do this in every single continent in the world? Or do we think that this is a front story for the group that is truly responsible for this? You tell me. And that is just for Paris, France. So what about in Peru? You know, 6,077 miles away from each other. Do you think those quarrymen, they just sent their local raven on a mission across the Atlantic Ocean? They need to make sure they also set those overpopulated bone dumps into perfect geometric patterns. Or do you think this might be a lie? when this website lets us know that the ones in Lima, Peru, the way the femurs, tibia, and craniums are placed, echo a symbolic or ritualistic intention, and goes on to say that neatly organized bones from geometric patterns in sizable open ossuary just below the floor of the church. And now when we go back to the St. James Church and go on their website and find that today the ossuary at the Church of St. James is an attraction for tourists. So right under this floor, you have 50,000 that have no true identity, just overpopulation, moving random people that were just crowding the place, just taking up too much room and time to put them in the geometric layouts all over the world. And most of it being off limits to the public. Are you trusting the mainstream story so far? Should I keep going? Should we just show that this fire narrative all over the world may be a much deeper meaning? Is this the location where the catacombs are located? Because in 1515, the St. James Church, we are told, that the finished presbytery was affected by the fire that caused the roof to fall in and subsequently destroyed all the altars. Is this the nod, showing us the locations of where they are buried? I'm not sure, but we have seen it multiple times now, and things are starting to get very interesting if you ask me. Coded messages, hidden clues, all written within these narratives that have been waiting for us to discover them for years. I've said it before, but it does feel exactly like a game, a puzzle that we are supposed to solve, all within this narrative that we've been given. Clues that when you know what you're looking for, seem to stare at you right in the face. So let's go deeper. Let's take a look at this map. Right here in the center, we are given the St. John's Church, where we know right underneath it is all of these catacombs, all of these bones. And it looks like it is the central location of the entire city. Going back to my point that this might be the reason that so many people today are pulled into these cities on a much deeper level without them even realizing it. You can see the same thing going on in Paris with their catacombs. Like, everybody is gathering around it and they don't even realize it because it's below their feet. And to prove my point, let's show another one and go back to the first one that we talked about, Odessa, Ukraine, where there is clearly an attraction going on here to this central point. It's not like the catacombs are on the outside of the city. They are dead center. Even the old St. Patrick's Cathedral is dead center on this land layout of Lower Manhattan. And the same exact thing with the new one that we saw, went inside of, and will be covering in an upcoming episode. Another centralized catacombs location in Alexandria, Egypt, where the city is circling around it again. And the inside of these ones are pretty intense. They consist of 3 levels, cut through solid rock. Visitors can reach the first level through a breach in the rotunda wall, which of course was made at an unknown date. This leads to a hall of Caracalla, in which the bones of horses and humans were found. They were found. We even have the St. Paul's Catacombs. A quick break to talk about something I've just started using, Rumble Wallet. If you've ever been curious about buying and investing in crypto, Bitcoin, stable coins, USAT, or even gold-backed stable coins, but felt like it was way too complicated, Rumble Wallet is an easy way to get started. You can buy, sell, and manage your cryptocurrencies all in one place. And the app is totally straightforward. What really makes Rumble Wallet unique is that you can use it to tip your favorite creators and support the Freedom First community, the truth community that we've all built right here on Rumble. Getting started is simple. All you do is download the Rumble Wallet app. Sign up with your existing Rumble account. No need for a new login. Complete a few security steps and you're set up in minutes. You can start with just a few dollars. And with MoonPay, built into Rumble Wallet, you can easily buy crypto using your credit card, debit card, or bank wire. So if you've been thinking about the advantages of crypto, download Rumble Wallet right now. Click on my link in the description or search Rumble Wallet in the App Store. Download Rumble Wallet today and move your assets to where they belong. In your hands, in your control. Rumble Wallet is a technology provider only and not a custodial service. See terms at wallet.rumble.com. Download Rumble Wallet today and hit the link in my description, where we have catacombs all the way out on this little island of Malta. And again, right under the church. And here, they give us the layout, the one that's available to the public. And you can see that this is intricate. This is not done by your average cowboy or your random quarry man. They were very advanced and precise with what they were doing all over the world. So what we see on the ground is clearly not all to this place that we live. There is much more below our feet, where I have some incredible things planned for this channel. The more that it grows. The more that it grows, the easier it will get for us to do things. One thing's for sure, and that is that we have a lot more to discover in places that have been here all along. And now that we know that they are there, we can go even further into this research. And do we all understand how this is all connected now when we can go back to episode 68, when we saw the Tron Kirk? And at that time we didn't know. But now we do. Located in Edinburgh, Scotland. Do we all remember what we read? Do you see now how the more information that we have, the more we understand when we read that the church floor was removed in 1974 to allow excavation of the entire floor level, where we now understand what is underneath these floors of so many of these churches all over the world. We now understand most likely what they found in 1974. We are unlocking it all. Do you remember when we found catacombs all over the world?